With me in a pledge to our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Steve, my offer prayer.
Absolutely. Lord, we thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for allowing us to join here, Lord, with a mind made up to help those who are less fortunate than we. Lord, we thank you for the mindset of service and of self. Bless this club as it continues to do your will. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, and good morning. Good morning. Before Wayne gets started, before you get started,
yes,
everybody say goodbye to Rhino here. He's leaving because I didn't expect him here today. Donald Hicks sent me a note that said Bob was planning to come and set up the camera and then go back home. He has been diagnosed with viral bronchos. Sound like sick horses. I think he means bronchitis.
Oh, wow.
He does have viral bronchitis.
Oh, boy.
He left. So he wasn't even supposed to be here, but he wanted the camera going. So we do thank both Donald for letting us know and Bob for making the effort. All right.
Great. All right. We may have confusion this morning, starting with Michael. All right. We have a notice that came from our president-elect that we're starting at 7:05 this morning. And normally we started at 7, we started at 7:15, now we're going to 7:05.
What's up with
Issues has come before the club.
What's up with that, Mr. President?
My bad. I just thought since we weren't going to have a chance to eat, we could at least get started earlier.
Well, I just, here's clarification. So every fine, we're going to have confusion this morning. But I do have it in writing, with here highlighted in yellow, that 7:05. Phil.
Yes, sir.
You have a guest. Please
I do.
introduce your guest.
Please forgive us, yes.
I'm pleased to have my guest, Dr. Nancy Toy. She is a physician at Catawba Women's Center, where my wife works, and so that's and a member of our church choir. So that's great.
All right, a couple items of business, if I can proceed on. Like I said, I think we'll probably have some confusion just in a few minutes. Good morning, Michael. Good morning. Richard Tucker.
Good morning, Wayne.
Good morning, Steve. One more comment, that's a fine.
Richard, you got me?
No, I already paid what I should have paid.
All right.
Anything in your life that's happened in this short period of time of a week, and it's happening, if anything that's really exciting that you want to talk about?
That's go ahead.
What is it?
Go ahead.
If he doesn't,
Oh, yeah.
I was going to pay a sunshine for that.
Monday, I turned 70.
That's it.
Hey. Also, your granddaughter.
Oh,
Also,
yeah.
my granddaughter gets married this Saturday.
Oh,
That's right. I get to do the marriage. I'm glad
My understanding, there's been some questions on the questions that he's asking. And his granddaughter has said, well, grandfather, I think I'll pass on that. I won't give you answers.
How did he get that in 70 years?
I don't know. I can't pay. I'm just tickled to death where he is.
Thank you.
And
we know
so
where he is.
We know where he
Yeah,
is. That's it. He's made the progress.
He's right
All right.
He's right there.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought back in the 80 days?
Yeah, that's right.
That this would happen now, that you make it to 70. That's right.
Right.
That you'd be able to perform a wedding ceremony.
Wow. There was a statement this morning you shared with me. Would you mind sharing it with the club?
Phil said he wanted to take over security because there was such a poor job getting done.
I didn't sign over that.
Oh, you did.
There's no way. If Gavin's going to be upset when he walks in late anyway.
Right, security walks in here.
Thank you for throwing me under the bus. I appreciate it.
All right. One other issue. As you know,
Way to go, Ron.
as a sponsor to a Rotarian, we know that. Okay, sometimes it keeps going over and there's a limit of what a sponsor can provide to a new member. But Lynn Sumer is trying to use Steiger more and more so Steiger pays the fine. And that bothers me. I think he's taking advantage of Bob Steiger.
I don't.
You don't?
But because when he takes his car, over
Yep.
to
Did that bucket help at all?
Negative.
Negative.
But
It-
Wayne,
it's-
I thought for the first year it wasn't no limit.
Right.
It's hard for me to conceive of somebody taking advantage of Bob.
Yes,
That's,
auto fitness.
I think we ought to just move past this.
All right, it's all yours.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay, I've got some things we'll share and then talk about anything you want to talk, and we'll go home. This is our trophy, y'all.
Awesome.
It is the best club,
Small club.
best small club, Rotary International District 7670. When Tiffany gave it to me this weekend, I was told, now you have to bring it back. I said, well, I'll bring it back, but I'm going to take it again next year. Because there are 5 on here. Franklin Daybreak, Hickory Sunrise, Lincolnton Sunrise, Hickory Sunrise. So 3 out of the 5, we've got it. Now, you have to give Big Rhino thanks for that.
Absolutely.
That's, he takes care, and he and Donald do the pink page, but Rhino looks at every little item.
How many times do you have to win this to keep that trophy?
That's a good question.
You can't keep
it
it.
up. We'll retire it here.
No, you remember she told us the last time that we won it 3 times, but I don't know if it was 3 times in a row. So we need to find out about that.
Well, I've got to find
But
out.
I think she said if she said for whoever said.
She'll be here first week of October, I think it is, and we'll have the trophy nice, and we can ask her. We're gonna keep it. Also thanks to Rhino, we submitted the district grant Monday for $2,000 for the polio commemoration expenses. And I sent Gary Knox the narrative. I think he's Hickory.
He's Hickory.
Hickory.
He's, or is he Hickory? I think he's Hickory.
Okay, and he'll be taking, he's president-elect as well. And I talked to him this weekend, and so they're going to be submitting a grant too. Don't know what the other groups are doing. Speaking of the polio commemoration, I was at City Hall last night. We gave a presentation to the council. Cliff Moon opened it up. He's the chair of the polio commemorative committee. I spoke on the 3 miracles of Hickory, which I considered it not just miracle of Hickory, but 3 miracles of Hickory. And yes.
Could we go back over the miracle of Hickory? Quick
Sure,
history?
be glad to. 75 years ago, in 1944, there were a number of polio cases in this area. And it seemed to be an awful lot within a certain mile radius of Hickory. And to combat the rising number of children who were getting polio, they decided to build a hospital. And within 54 hours, a hospital was constructed to deal with the children. The Sister Kenny method was used to treat the children, which went against conventional medical wisdom at that time. Medical wisdom was you stabilize folks, you don't move them, which is why a lot of people had braces, because their muscles just atrophied. Her thought was, and she was a nurse in Australia, was to take hot, very hot, boiling hot blankets and wrap the limbs in the blankets to get the muscles loose enough, and then you just physical therapy, basically you start moving the muscles. It worked almost every time she tried it, people tried it, but the doctors, the Medical Association of Australia and the United States wouldn't support it. March of Dimes did support it, and they helped put money into the area here. So in 54 hours, the hospital was built at a 97% success rate. It was an integrated hospital for a while until somebody balked about that. There were integrated nursing staffs. And the community came together to do a good job. After the presentation last night, one of the council people said that she had never heard of the Miracle of Hickory, or at least may have heard but had no idea where it was. Because a couple of years ago, you all may remember, Scott Owen and I went to City Hall to talk about our club sponsoring a monument on the site of the hospital, where it was. And in talking with folks there, people at City Hall had never heard of it. And they were young, for the most part, and it further underscored the need for something that was so powerful. It made national news, national headlines, that we should keep that memory alive in this area, because it was a pretty good community-wide effort, and a lot of good things happened. So we made a presentation last night to the council, specifically to ask that the mural that has been designed be on the wall of the wine shop. My words to the council and Kit Cameron's words to the council were in a prominent area downtown. One of the polio survivors specifically said, put it on that particular wall. We've heard that the council pretty much is okay with the mural, but they don't want it downtown. They want it out on the site. That's way down the road, and it's not a place where a lot of people don't see it. And if you want the story told, and you want the community to get behind it and understand just how powerful an effort was taken 75 years ago, you need it where people can see it. So that's the effort right now. And all we did was make a presentation, and Kit Cameron just was, actually made the proposal to the council for it. When and how, whether they'll act on it, we don't know. There's no discussion. If you've been to school board meeting, people talk all the time. They discuss any issue ad nauseum, but not city council. They just nod their heads, go into closed sessions. Don't know what will happen there, but I felt good, and I've got a meeting scheduled with Warren Wood, excuse me, to make sure that our club has some type of recognition or something out on the site when the obelisk is finally done there. In our proposal, we said that we would maintain it as far as shrubbery and flowers, and just keep it nice and have a sign out there. So I think we'll be able to do that. But it was mentioned in the opening by Cliff that while this polio committee was working on something, unbeknownst to us, we, unbeknownst to them, Hickory Rotary, were going about a memorial on the site. So it was natural just to blend the two together. And it was mentioned that the 6 Rotary clubs in Collin County were behind the effort. That's where we are now. We'll see what happens down the road. Bob?
Rick, the gentleman we had come from CVCC who did all the background investigation on
Richard Eller?
Richard Eller, is
Yeah.
he involved in that?
Yes,
anyway?
he's on the committee. He was not there last night, but he was mentioned, and some still photos from his collection were on the screen last night of the actual hospital and kids there. But the video that he has done, I don't know if the council has seen that. But to me, that's
pretty powerful.
that is,
Yeah.
it's awesome video.
Wasn't anything mentioned about what we talked about last, about the nurse and the presentation?
No, not specifically. In my comments, I simply mentioned that there were African American nurses were hired to.
Well, next time we meet, let me know, so I'll come down.
Okay. He did make the only change he made to the picture you've seen is to superimpose 1944 on the top and the word love on the bottom. Everything else is, and I don't know, I mean, I shared what you said with Cliff, shared it with the artist, and that's all I know right now. So anyway, that's where we are with that.
And they want to take it out on 12th Street Drive,
The original.
That's where the site is, right?
which makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, and there, what I've heard, and I didn't hear from the horse's mouth, I heard second, third hand, that some of the council members would, because of the river walk going in, want to make that side a destination site. People walking will walk in there, and I don't have any problem making a destination site. We'll put a mural there too, I mean, that's fine. gonna be, that obelisk is gonna be there. But, if you really want the community to see and understand, it's, you know, right downtown. And, a second thing that the Hickory Rotary Club is gonna be working on in the committee, the Arts Council and folks, is a kiosk right where that mural is, telling the story. It would probably have a copy of the video running, you know, but it would give a full story at that point. So if you know any council members, you know, share your thoughts with them. Don't know what they're saying behind closed doors at all, don't know what any objection to it would be, other than maybe in the back of their minds, they're thinking, you know, something better may come along sometime. Not for polio, but just something different for Hickory that they can put on that wall. I have no idea what it is.
Well, I can't imagine.
I can't, you're right. You talk about the miracle of Hickory.
Absolutely.
Downtown Hickory, it makes all the sense in the world.
And obviously, people of color, if it's downtown Hickory, got a better chance of experiencing it.
Yes, sir.
Versus
Yeah.
going out on 12th Street Drive. Some
Yeah.
who don't have transportation would never get an opportunity to see it. That makes no sense.
I agree. So if you have any, you know, some of you guys know David Zagaroli. I know Charlotte Williams and David Williams pretty well. Another person I know pretty well is just not in favor of it, so nothing I can say to her. But for the most part, you know, there will be a mural. We're fairly confident. The location of it is the issue. So if you have any pull, anything you can, any people to whom you can speak, you know, please do so.
So we have one council member who is not in favor.
Not correct, is my understanding. Now, that person has not told me that point blank, but she wouldn't meet my eyes last night.
Yeah. So that tells you something. Right?
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Donald Hicks. What have we done for him?
For who?
For Donald Hicks. Since he's been out, his back surgery. I mean, we do things for our members.
And we do, and our morale officer here came to me a while back and said he wants to head up things to do for people, so that was Joe. He wants to have an unofficial title as, you know, the person helping out, but we have not done anything, and we need
to.
Oh, of course, yeah. And I talked to him last night, and he's still hurting physically. He had hoped to come, and I said, you stay home, we need you for the end of the year meeting. Make sure you're here for that.
And he's going to say he doesn't need any help.
Yeah, any suggestions? Anybody have any suggestions?
Rick, could you send out his mailing address so that we could at least send a card?
I think that.
Yeah. Let's send him some money as well, or something. I mean, we do other members when they're going through things, so we got to be consistent when we do this.
Yeah, we need to do something for him specifically, but an individual donation to Classroom Connections might not be a bad idea either. Think about that.
Sure.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up. And if anybody has specific suggestions, I mean, usually when people are down, you bring food and help, but I don't know at this point if that's a necessity, but.
Well, I got the first $20. I'll put it toward whatever we send.
Okay, all right. I'll add to that. But thank you for bringing that up. If any suggestions, please share.
We've made an annual payment to Classroom Connections already?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Not budget.
$500.
Yeah.
She's already received it.
So how would we do something special? I mean, I like the idea of something going to Classroom Connection.
Think about it. Right? You know, we want to do something. Thank you, Steve, for bringing that up. A donation to Classroom Connections is a individual donations is something we could all do. But it could be something else, something specifically for Donald, maybe a cushion for his back or something, something for him to sit on. Because his back is hurting.
I wonder if a work day is coming up, because we're at the end of the school year. We need Reinhardt. Reinhardt's working with him, I know. You know, there may be something we can do in terms of getting in there and shuffling material around,
I mean, like a
Tidying
work
up.
day, add classroom
Yeah,
connections?
yeah.
That's-
Yeah, because you know, he's in the, essentially what was the fellowship hall at Bethel.
Yeah, at the church.
UCC, yeah. So there might be something that we could show up and in an hour or two, do some tidying up or organizing or.
That would be a big
getting
help, I
going.
think. That'd be a big help. I think Steve's right. If you ask him, he's gonna say, I don't need anything.
Right. Reinhardt might have something.
Yeah.
So I know Bob's.
He's on the board.
He's either on the board or an active participant, volunteer there.
Very good, thank you. Saturday, 4 of us attended leadership training in Asheville. Ryan, Roger, and Joe and I were there. And I'd like you guys to give some brief, quick updates on anything you might want the group to know what you learned about. Start with Ryan. Go with you first.
And these are just ideas that were shared by the guests or the speakers that we had. So I attended the session on club administration and youth services. One of the things that they thought was really important was that when a club establishes committees, like we're in the process of doing, that you take time on a regular basis to share out what the committees are doing, so that everyone knows what everybody else is working on and how it fits into the bigger picture of the club. And then making sure that what the individual committees are working on lines up with what the goals of our club are overall. But that way it kind of keeps the work at the forefront and what we're doing in the community and how we're trying to improve things. Just a couple of ideas that were shared. Some clubs, one of their meetings each month is a social outing for the club members. So they might go to dinner together somewhere and count that as a club meeting. And then another idea that was shared is creating a kind of a year-long calendar for committees and using that Pink Pages document is kind of a tool so that you're checking off those boxes along the way with activities and initiatives that we have going. Also, they talked about evaluating your club on a regular basis, and some of the metrics that they suggested using were attendance at meetings, looking at membership numbers periodically, and then conducting a survey of the current members and asking for feedback and input. Some people might be more willing to share input if it was done through a survey versus in a group setting. And then the last thing he kind of left us with was that Rotary clubs on average each year lose 15% of their members. So they talked a lot about both being in a constant mode of recruiting new members, but also that it's really important to focus on retaining the ones that you do have as well. And I think we do a good job of this, but he said to just make sure that each meeting is relevant, interesting, and fun. I think we do that. But also that, I thought this was a pretty neat idea too to think about, is that we should treat every meeting like it's our only opportunity to impress a potential new member. And he said that your current members deserve that as well. And I thought that was pretty good. And then in terms of youth services, that session, basically they went over, there's kind of 3 subgroups within youth services. So Early Act is a program for ages 5 to 13 that can be implemented in elementary school. So it's kind of like a character education program. And then Interact for high school students, and then Rotaract for ages 19 to 30. And that Rotaract, the 19 to 30 group, are now going to be considered full Rotarians going forward. So that might be a potential group that we could reach or partner with maybe going forward. I don't think CC has a Circle K group.
No, we have Rotaract.
We have Rotaract too.
Emerging leaders,
Okay.
and
So
we've had for, gosh, 10 years. Easy.
are they tied to us?
No, they're tied to Newton Conover. That's their sponsor club.
Okay.
Teresa Biggs actually kicked that off many years ago.
Okay.
But yeah, and they're very active, very active. Actually, I was with them last week while we bagged some groceries at the soup kitchen. So very, very active.
Okay. That's good then. And maybe, I don't know about LR. It might be some-
Well, and Dr. Fisher is one that
Okay.
was a member of our club,
Okay.
and I've been after her, but she's got more that she can say grace over right now, so we still need to continue to remind her.
Okay.
Yes.
She's a good friend of mine too. I'll
Yeah.
remind her
Yeah.
as well. And then the last thing that they talked about in that session was just RILA. And they talked about how next year it'll be on March 26th through the 29th, and it'll be $300 per student. And they're going to continue with the long weekend format at the Blue Ridge Assembly. And their goal for next year is to try to get 125 students to participate. So.
And one of the first things you mentioned is something Rick and I have already talked about is, you know, as we put these committees together, we want to make sure that when we come together for club assembly, that the person who chairs that committee, you know,
That's gonna be the focus of next year's club assembly, to make sure everybody has them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that helps keep things focused and moving in the right direction and the goals of the club.
Right.
And with that said, I would just like to know from Mr. Trick, I think, where's my brick?
Trick's brick? Trick, bring the brick.
All right, Steve, you asked a question. You've embarrassed him. I need $1.
Whoa.
I need $1, so he pulled it out.
He did.
I don't want it. I want you to move it on.
I just did.
Wait, as a matter of fact, he brought a guest.
It did, yeah.
Yes.
You don't have the brick anymore.
Yes. So, who are you sending it to? You send it to whoever you want to send it to now.
Well, how can I avoid getting in trouble here, Mr. Sergeant at Arms?
You can handle it any way you want to
Without a fine?
without a fine, yes, sir.
Well, first of all, is anybody interested?
Oh, no.
Join
No, man.
Oh, no. Since you're in the midst of a report.
I got a guy I'm working on anyway, so. The last thing I just wanted to add is maybe something to think about. I was talking with Dr. Vendetta on the way back down. Through K64, we have a student leadership program, and all of them are students that were nominated by their high school principal to be in the program. So they all have leadership potential. And Steve's office partners with us on it, and we've been providing some pretty high quality programs for them. But I was thinking that if the 6 Rotary clubs maybe could come together next year, and it might be neat to sponsor those kids for RILA. It would be a kind of neat experience for them. Just something to think about. But if each of the 6 could take a couple kids, and then we could have a Catawba County delegation go up there to RILA would be a pretty neat concept. And a lot of those kids would really benefit from that type of experience. So
Right,
just
RILA
something to
is
think about.
a high school age youth leadership event. I got that right?
Yeah.
Just something to think about.
And Jenny really bought into it when she went up with the kids. I'm sure she'll continue to do that with us.
I know Dr. Gary Pope, who is a local veterinarian, is on board with us. So he's going to be a mentor.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan. Joe?
Yeah, it was a good day and I learned a lot, and I wish I'd have had a little book that told me all the different acronyms, what they define, because I'm being new. And so, anyway, I attended 2 training areas, public image and the foundation. And the public image plan, the individual, Joan Van Orman, who presented that, she is willing to help out. I believe she's from over in the Brevard area, but she's willing to help out any club trying to help share with the community what's happening within their club. And so she gave lots of great information. But probably one of the things I learned most is she encouraged those who are doing public image to focus more on Facebook and less on the website. So I don't even know if we even have a Facebook page.
We
Yes.
do.
We do. I don't know how active, and one of the things she shared in that is trying to share your public image is put pictures constantly, update it daily if possible. So I don't even know who does our public
I think
image.
Gavin.
Yeah, and that's the problem, if our club members don't know.
Yeah, and you're right, and Donald asked me last night, what's the mailing address of our club?
P.O. Box 275.
275.
Yeah.
And but I didn't know, so I went back, because when Glenn sends out the invoices, it's on there. But I deleted it after I paid the money, so I didn't keep that email. So I went on the website, and you're right, 2015 dances. We
Yeah.
kind of need to update the website a little bit.
Well, and if we're wanting to grow the club younger,
Exactly.
we've got to look
Yeah.
at what are the tools that connect to the younger population, and that's Facebook. And having pictures added constantly, also doing possibly a press release periodically to let people know what's happening within the club. Roger, did you also participate in, did you go to the one on?
I did the public image, yes.
Yes, also. What did you pick up from the presentation that was helpful?
So I did 2 sessions. I did secretary and public image, and they both worked off of the DACDB website, or DACDB database, and talking about the functionality. Sometimes quirkiness of the functionality of that website with getting things entered. There's some workarounds, and so it was helpful to hear from people who had experienced having to navigate the DACDB website. But talking about the public image one, they did go further with the person who was presenting had knowledge of a tool that they use. Now it's a paid tool. It's about, I want to say they said $150 a year. But she said in her experience that it was well worth it. Because what this tool enables you to do is to enter information like a story and post a picture, and that would automatically feeds into the newsletter, but also it can, she within a couple clicks can have that same story that she's created with a picture post to their Facebook page and possibly to a website and things like that. She says she does it within about 30 minutes. And so talking about public image, talking about keeping up with things, that's a lot of what we learned about.
Yeah, for public image, they mentioned about that there is a district Zoom conferencing, which I'm not familiar with that, but it does allow you to tie in and learn other tools that can help you in sharing your image. And she also mentioned how important it is to do a member spotlight. Do we do that where we spotlight maybe a member each week or each month to kind of, I don't know, you guys know me.
No spotlight
Steiger.
Not every meeting.
Nobody else gets a chance.
He sort of gobbles up all the
Is that a spotlight or a logo?
Seems as though we had a
Well,
Rotary
minute. We
Yes.
used to have a minute.
Yes. And we would talk about
That one person was responsible for the minute, and in 1 minute you shared something about yourself and or your career, what you're working on, whatever, either personal or professional.
Yeah, I know when I was
And we can, yeah.
in the Morganton Club long ago, they would always, maybe once a month, would have, the meeting would be around one person sharing their story.
Sure.
So, the Rotary Foundation, there's a lot of information here, and I got a lot of statistics and stats of information concerning. I'm going to pass that on to Rick. But I will tell you, your District 7670 is going on a cruise. So I have information here, and part of the funds raised from this cruise will go to help end polio now. So if you're interested in February going on a cruise, I'll pass that around to you all. So I'm not a big cruise person, but maybe you'd like to take your spouse on a cruise. So help end polio now. And if you, my understanding, if you sign up by the 28th of May, you will receive $100 in whatever money you share there on the cruise ship. So I guess it's $100 buy more food or whatever. It was definitely, I would say in summation, it was definitely a good day. privilege of learning. And how often does this happen? Once a year?
Once a year.
Once a year?
Yeah, it was good training. I'm glad I went. Roger, you want to share what?
Sure. So I did share just a little bit about the 2 sessions I went to, the secretary and the public image. And like I said, learned a good bit about kind of the pink pages, about keeping things updated. Like I said, quirkiness. The database can be fickle as far as how you enter information. Things like addresses, it can either recognize or not recognize. We talked through some of those issues. But it's like maintenance issues for the club, but that's important because as far as like getting points and entering information and the pink pages, it all ties in together. Beyond that, the meeting was fantastic. It was very inspirational. We got to listen to Doug Cornfield and Dave Clark, who were the keynote kind of speakers. Dave Clark was an individual who had polio as a child, or had polio and overcame a lot to become a major league pitcher, coach, and working in other capacities in baseball. Doug Cornfield and him wrote a book called A Pound of Kindness. I would encourage you, if you're not familiar with it, to go out and just Google it and see what that's about, because it's a very inspirational story. And one of the things that he focused on or talked about, one of his points was about focusing on our strengths. And that's something that he experienced in getting to the level that he got to, was trying to understand that there were certain things he was never going to be able to do. He wasn't going to be able to increase his speed running to first base. And so he talked about instead focusing on the things he could focus on, identifying 2 positions that he could play as pitcher and first base. And then as a pitcher, he knew that he was never going to throw 100 miles an hour. And so instead he worked on developing a knuckleball. And that's how he became successful, was by focusing on his strengths. Rather than listening to some coaches who he had or that he heard with other players telling them to develop their weaknesses or focus on their weaknesses. So that was an interesting point, something that as a takeaway from his story. But the book, A Pound of Kindness, comes from a childhood friend, Ernie Pound, who showed an act of kindness to him that made him feel included, made him feel like a part of the group. And I won't go any further than that to tell the story, but extremely inspirational. The other part that I loved about the meeting is, getting to interact with our own club members, with Rick and Ryan and Joe, and also seeing members from Lake Hickory Club and Hickory Club and interacting with them. Those types of experiences are invaluable and are great to have outside of what we do here. So Tiffany did talk about, in her address, about a upcoming event in Columbia. What event is that, Rick? Help me out there. It's kind of like an annual conference, or
It's a district conference.
I think it is a district. What did you go to, Phil?
I did not. I was in the church a bit.
No. Just recently.
A district conference in Greenville. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so
I think
this
it's a
is
district.
here.
Yeah.
Columbia.
Oh, okay.
Columbia, South Carolina.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what you're talking about, but I don't think that one's come up real soon, though.
It's like October, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'll just have to get more information, and I got everything written down here.
yeah. I just wanted to mention that as an upcoming thing. As far as
Typically,
conference.
district conferences
Well,
are April.
Yeah, I have it April 24th and 26th in Columbia.
Okay.
That's, so it's next April.
Next
Technically,
April.
you went to this year.
That's right.
She's,
Okay.
but she'll be the district governor at that point.
Right.
She wasn't when you went. And
Correct.
so she's just taken over officially.
Yeah, this,
But I will elaborate on your story just a little bit, because the kid felt that he could not keep up with his classmates and things. The PE teacher would not let him not. He had a PE teacher previous grade who wouldn't let him do anything and he had to go sit down. He was used to walking away and sitting down. The new teacher's on, Ken, where you going? Come here. And included him in things, and there was a hike or something, they were going someplace.
Fire department, they were gonna go tour a fire department.
Okay, into walking, and he couldn't keep up.
Crutches.
And all of a sudden, this kid, he knew him but didn't know he wasn't his best friend or anything, was a red flyer wagon. He put him in the wagon, and he pulled him behind. You talk about service above self, and without even thinking, and pulled him. And the logo they have is the kid pulling a wagon, and that's what happened. It was pretty inspirational. I was. And I attended, what other sessions you attended?
I did the secretarial and the public image,
Okay.
which both kind of focus on the database and how to utilize that, and then how to utilize it to push information out.
Okay. And I attended membership and public speaking. Wasted my time going public speaking.
Oh, look, can I share just a brief story about that?
Yeah.
So Rick, we were standing out there, and I asked Rick, I said, well, what are you signed up for? And he said, well, I'm signed up for this, and then I'm signed up for public speaking. And I said, really? Rick? Really? And Rick doesn't know me that well, so I don't know if he knew how to take it. But we've all seen Rick talk, and you know what I mean? I've seen Rick talk in other forums as well, and you may not know that. But I'm like, really, Rick, you're going to public speaking?
He needed a breather, he just.
That shows you just how knowledgeable he is, because even before Dave Clark talked about focusing on your strengths, he knew that already. He said, yeah, that's a strength of mine, but I'm going to go to public speaking anyways. I'm going to focus on my strengths. And then he told me a story, I don't know if you know this, but he actually went under an alias. And I got to learn a little bit about the superhuman that he is today, and kind of his origin story with his name, because at one point he was a DJ in Wilkesboro and went under the alias of Rick Ross, not to be confused with the record producer or music producer Rick Ross.
Who wasn't producing way back in the 70s.
But, and also his first name, the RIC, was something that he picked up along the way. And then to his current name of Rick Van Dett.
I'm a mystery man. So. But the membership session was very, very good. I don't have enough time to get into it. I learned a lot. Steve has been our membership chair since before we had a club, and we'll continue to do that. But I'm going to work with you because I picked up a lot of good ideas. You know, and I think I put in the email to y'all that Governor Tiffany's goal was, she had two goals: do good and have fun. You know, that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue to have fun. We're going to continue to do good, and that's real simple. I'm going to skip over a couple of things I have in the interest of time, which I can share in an email with you. It's no big deal. But quickly, next week, Jenny has the program, but we're meeting at Richards, are we not? Are we meeting at your place?
Next week,
Yeah.
you can.
And that's what I had on the calendar. Have you talked about that? Well, I just,
Let me get back with you on that one.
yeah, please, because if not, then we'll do something else. It's no big deal.
Make a deal.
But if you've not firmed that up with Jenny, then I'm not gonna worry about it. We'll, I don't want to surprise her. She'll run.
Jenny, you got the program next week?
Jenny has the program, and I'm on my thing, on my schedule. I have Jenny White, Richard Tucker, Commercial Fabricators, and that's the 5th Wednesday. That's what it is. When Donald set up meetings for 5th Wednesdays off campus, they way back when you had said we could do it then. If not, no problem, but I just need to know so we can let everybody know.
Well, let's not.
Okay, that's fine.
Until I can get things over.
Okay. So you said let's not, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not gonna go to commercial,
Right.
okay.
We'll do another time.
He's got those listed. He asked me if I had a couple, but you've got those listed already.
Do what?
Field trips. Field trips.
Yeah, I got Klingspor, and the others are for next year.
Well, do we have to do it on the 5th, or can I just pick another week, another Wednesday?
You can do the 5th if you want. Steiger's got the program for the 5th. What, Roger?
Let me throw out, I have and just think about this and just let me know. I don't know a lot about the company, but I have a connection at TurboTech. If we have an interest of taking a tour of that company, then I can work to arrange that.
These have been beneficial. As far as I'm concerned. It was, and the tie-in to K64, the Sarstead.
Well, the
Awesome.
the other thing I kind of picked up on was that there's a possibility that over the years they've experienced a decent amount of turnover. And so talking about the apprenticeship Catawba and from our visit to Sarstedt, and Peter talking about connecting with other local companies and building that, that there might be an opportunity there for us to connect with that company.
I think we ought to meet at Michael's one day, just watching the real teeth.
I was gonna say that Dr. Wilbur's office is a good place to meet as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Is that right? What they say?
Next year, I sent an email out. I've already got some people, Jenny's already thought she wants to do the Christmas one again. So as you think of, I sent you the frame. Dates, open dates, if you think of open dates that you want, Bob's already got a few done, please fill out. If you're not sure, it doesn't matter to you, then by the end of June, I'll have it filled out for you. And again, you're responsible for the program, you don't have to do the program. You can get somebody, and as we've said before, I've learned in some of the training, you are a program. You know, we talk about highlight somebody. You know, if your name's on, you want to do the program, that could be it. Bob, you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was gonna ask Ryan if he thought any more about our field trip to Sarstedt. I know Peter's been an inspiration to the K64 program. But more importantly, did you see any place where we can plug in on any of that?
I think we might be able to plug in with helping apprentices, so like students that are apprentices on top. So for example, if they're, like the young man that we spoke to in the hallway, he's a student at Hickory High. So he's driving out to Sarstedt from wherever he lives in Hickory on a regular basis. So there might be some ways to plug in to help with transportation. But also, I think there's a huge need for just promoting what an apprenticeship is and encouraging more local businesses to participate in that concept. Or just hosting interns, giving students the opportunity to engage in work-based learning, I think is really important. And when I go out and talk with students, the number one thing that I tell them is that while they're in high school, if they can engage in work-based learning and or part-time employment, that they're building soft skills, they're building work ethic, they're building time management, those types of things along the way that will ultimately help them when they're full-time employees, hopefully in our area. So I think the more that we can encourage other people to take on students that while they're in high school, and given more and more options for the kids to be able to plug in, I think that would be a really good way to help out. So like, if you're a business owner taking on students that can be interns or apprentices, the other thing that K64 can help with is any business that needs help with designing that and what it could look like for the students, we can support that as well. So one of the projects we're working on right now is starting to create a kind of a workshop for businesses at the beginning of each semester. So like if I'm a local business and I've never hosted a student, I don't know how to do that, I have trouble coming up with activities for them, then we can sit and help you design what that program could look like in your business, or pair you up with other businesses that are same size, same type of concept, that are doing it well, and share ideas and kind of a business mentor another business in terms of work-based learning. But you know, if someone came to me locally and said I wanted to set up an apprenticeship program with my business, I would definitely connect them with Mr. Rumswinkle. He's the best. I think he's the best at that whole concept. He's really knowledgeable, and he's done it for so long that their program there is just top notch. You got to see that when we did. I'll tell you the other thing that's happening is, like yesterday, the Tuesday Rotary group that meets, they came over and did a tour of our building. So we're starting to get more and more civic groups and business people coming through that building, and I think it's just generating conversation about what are the opportunities, what the potential that we have to partner. So maybe down the line, there might be an opportunity for multiple Rotary groups to do something together, which would be pretty neat.
The rest of the stuff I have, we'll do next week. We'll continue the discussion. But since your name is on the thing for next week, would you mind taking 5 minutes next week to share with the club how you got into the business you're in, your growth through the company, and what your company does? A lot of people are probably just not aware of it at all.
What does this company do?
If you have anything from Blue Bucket, that's fine. To our guests, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you will come back. Yes.
One other item.
Sure.
What I have to bring up, I hate to do it. Last week, Michael left $1. He had to leave early. He didn't leave. Now he wants his $1 back.
I got it. I got it. It's agreed on.
All right, that's it.
Hey, Rick, are you gonna hang on to what you're gonna do for Donald?
Yeah. What do you mean, hang on?
I mean, I'm gonna leave this with somebody.
Glenn.
Give it, Glenn.
Glenn?
Okay, keep that.
Why don't we bring next week if we want to do like a
Yeah,
gift
hang on.
card? Why don't you hang on to it, we'll do a gift card. Why don't we just see
Let's
what we
do-
get and do a gift card or
Okay,
All right.
do a Visa gift card or something like that.
All right.
all right. So give my money back. The things we think, say, and do is the truth, is the fair and all concerned. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank y'all. Have a good week.
Doc, glad to have you. Please come back.
Yeah, we are glad to have you. Wayne. You gotta recruit some.
I put like themes out. We have a little program in 5 minutes. Check out points. So you should keep calling it. That's just a referral. And I'll be more intense. Make sure the clothes are good. Thank you for going.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you referred to me. One of them was, you didn't have it.
Thank you.
And the granddaughter's getting married.
I am.
So you got the church or?
No,
A
chiropractor.
I 30 years ago, every wedding.
Chiropractor. Get your back worked on.